Hey guys, and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining to you exactly why I believe that Bitcoin is about to rally all the way back up to $112,000. I am also going to be sharing with you why the recent all-time high breakout on the United States S&P 500 is one of the greatest driving forces of this rally on Bitcoin. And we're also going to explain why this breakout on the United States stock market actually might be one of the reasons why Bitcoin is going to go through a small short-term corrective movement. If you want to understand where Bitcoin is going in the long term, medium term, and even in the short term, then you found the right video. So let's talk about where Bitcoin is going to be going over the next few days and what its march all the way back up to all-time high is going to look like. If we jump over to the chart here, we can see that Bitcoin has been rallying dramatically ever since the ceasefire deal was achieved between Israel and Iran. Bitcoin briefly dropped below $100,000, and many people, myself included, bought the dip hand over fist, whatever the term is. During that time, Bitcoin went on a massive rally and vindicated all of us that said that $100,000 is very strong support, and we expect that to continue. From that point in time, though, Bitcoin rallied up to this downtrending level of resistance right here, and we have every reason to believe that Bitcoin is going to break this downtrending level of resistance. But for the reason that I'm about to show you, that may take a little bit of time. If we jump on over to the United States S&P 500, we can see that it is at the current moment breaking through all-time high. That all-time high was 613. We are now currently trading at 615. This is, once again, as a result of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. Global markets have been rallying dramatically as the overall atmosphere of risk in global markets has cooled off. This rally on the S&P 500 is almost certainly going to precipitate a major rally on Bitcoin. If you compare the United States S&P 500 to Bitcoin and look at it over the last many years, you will see that Bitcoin is almost always going into major rallies right around the time that the United States stock market is going into major rallies, and the Bitcoin bear markets actually coincide with periods of consolidative sideways trading, as we saw in 2018, or major corrective movements as we saw in 2022 as a result of the COVID-19 fallout having to do with the joblessness and the inflation and all of the other issues that we saw coming from the quantitative easing and economic impact of the global pandemic shutdown. Now, there's nothing like that going on in the current market. We saw a major corrective movement on the United States S&P 500 just a few weeks ago and just a few months ago as there were all these fears of tariffs. People were concerned that Donald Trump's tariffs were going to crash the entire global economy. So we saw the United States S&P 500 go through a massive crash. In fact, it dropped 22%. There were great fears of recession. That is about the same size drop as we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic fallout. Something I want to point out to you is that as Bitcoin tracks with the United States S&P 500, we saw a 77% drop on the United States, on the Bitcoin market here as a result of the COVID-19 drop on the United States stock market. Stock market drops 27%, Bitcoin drops 77%, right? Massive drop that we saw back here in 2022. On the other hand, this time we see S&P 500 drop just a tiny, minuscule little 22%. It's almost the same size, almost 27%, very close, and Bitcoin drops 30%. So for an equivalent size, give or take, equivalent size drop on the US markets, Bitcoin, instead of dropping 77%, drops 30%. If you were to follow along and you were to say, okay, this drop on the S&P 500 that we saw back here was 27% deep, we would expect that Bitcoin is maybe going to be about, this drop on S&P 500 more recently is about a quarter larger. You know, it's 22% instead of 27%, about 3/4 is deep. You would think you'd probably see about 3/4 the drop. So 3/4 of 77, you would expect Bitcoin maybe to drop 55 to 60%. Instead, Bitcoin only dropped 30%. That's because right now, Bitcoin is much stronger than it was in 2022. It's much more developed. There's a lot more inflows going on. We got a bunch of different fundamentals and technicals I'm going to break down for you in this video. But overall, as we can see, Bitcoin is not responding as bearishly to major corrective movements on the United States stock market as it has in times past. Instead, Bitcoin is marching ever higher towards all-time high. And that, once again, is something that we saw happen just a few days ago when we dropped beneath $100,000. We stayed down here for 9 hours. We got some entries here. You probably got some entries here. We love the entries here. And so the United States stock market, the health of the global economy, the ceasefire that we now have in the Middle East, this is all a very bullish foundation. It's fertilizer for Bitcoin. Very, very obvious that Bitcoin's going to do very well from here. The horizon looks phenomenal. We're looking at $200,000 to $250,000 this cycle. Now, I also mentioned that Bitcoin may go through a short-term corrective movement as a result of the rally on the S&P 500. And the reason for that is because Bitcoin is considered more risky than the United States S&P 500. Think about this as if you're a TradFi guy. You're not a DeFi guy. Think about it as a TradFi guy. You see the United States S&P 500 breaking all-time high, and Bitcoin has not broken all-time high. Which one are you going to go into a trade on? Well, duh. If the S&P 500 just broke all-time high, then you're going to go into a trade on SPY. You're going to go into some kind of long trade, some kind of futures trade on the S&P, because the last time it broke all-time high, an all-time high that it had held on to for a while, not just in Blue Sky Breakout, but it broke a long-standing all-time high. The US SPY rallied 27%. So, of course, you're seeing a lot of inflows into the SPY right now. Those inflows are going into the SPY that could have been going into Bitcoin. But here's what's the important thing. All of those flows that are going into SPY right now are only going to go into SPY for a couple of months. Maybe at most. I mean, you fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, Bitcoin's rallying because SPY's rallying. It's lagging a little bit behind it because it's considered more risky, but it's not going to lag for long. And what happens when people say, okay, we've made our trade. We've made our money trading the overall index, just trading the index and all the different companies that are in all-time high breakout right now. Where do they go next? Well, Bitcoin's primed and ready to rally up to 112. After it breaks 112, all bets are off. Every analyst on the planet is telling you 125 to 135, maybe even 150 to 165 is around the corner. That's where those traders come in. Those swing traders come in. They bring a lot of liquidity. They start saying, all right, time to buy. We're going to put our targets up at 150. At that point in time, you have the major investors like the Sailors of the world and the Larry Finks of the world, Fidelity, etc. They are seeing that there's a big rally about to come. They load up as much Bitcoin as they can before we break 112, and you see a hype cycle start here in the next month or two. July, August, somewhere in there, you're going to see a hype cycle. Bitcoin's going to break through 112, and it's going to go freaking nuts. It's going to go absolutely bananas. You're going to go into the banana zone like people talk about by going parabolic. It's coming. It's coming in the second half of this year. It's coming very soon. That being said, in the ultra short term, the next few days, you could see a little bit of bearishness on Bitcoin as a result of this, because eyes are not on Bitcoin right now. Eyes are on the SPY. And so this could cause Bitcoin to go through a small corrective movement, maybe down to 105, maybe even a little bit lower as we reject off of this downtrend for the short term. But all this is doing is giving us more entries. If we drop down to 105, great. My investors out there, my DCAers out there, buy some more, build your stack, work on getting to your next coin, work on getting to your next tenth of a coin, whatever it is. After that, and you start to bounce and you found a concrete bottom, boom, my traders. Hey guys, there's a great entry. You just drop down to 105. Bull market couldn't look more bullish. Take out a 25x long if you know what you're doing. I mean, be careful. You drop 4%, you're screwed. But if you know what you're doing, go on a 10x long. Take that. There's an opportunity there. You have a real opportunity to make some great trades here. So this drop that is coming sets up either the investor or the trader perfectly. There's a great opportunity coming here. So my overall perspective, based on Bitcoin's response to the Israel-Iran conflict, based on Bitcoin's response to the United States S&P 500, this is also based on some other concepts that I don't have time to talk about today, such as the fact that we're not going to see a Fed rate decision, a Fed rate cut, such as the United States dollar currency index, the DXY. These all paint an extremely bullish short-term perspective on Bitcoin that gives us a couple of conclusions that we'll kind of wrap out here with. Number one, if you want to acquire Bitcoin below $112,000, I personally believe you're running out of time. I mean, we've been running out of time for the last 2 months, obviously. I mean, Bitcoin has this tendency to kind of stair step in this cycle. So when I say running out of time, I'm not saying tomorrow it's going to be above 112, but you've got a couple of months. You've got 2-3 solid months, maybe less, to acquire below $115,000. Bitcoin is in its third or fourth major stair step in this bull market. We had one, we had a second one, we had a third one. We're kind of doing the same thing, just a little bit higher. And we're about to start moving to the upside. So you're running out of time. I'm not going to tell you how much time you have. It might be a week, might be a month, might be 3 months, but you are running out of time. Every day you have one less day to acquire Bitcoin at these levels. Could we go here during the bear market? We could. Is it possible we don't? Absolutely. Do I think Bitcoin will hit 150 in the bear market? Totally. Do I think it'll hit 107? It genuinely might not. And if it does, it genuinely might only be here for a month. So in the grand scheme of things, most of the time that you're ever going to have left that has not happened yet to acquire Bitcoin right here at the floor price of $100,000, it's coming to a conclusion. So that's conclusion number one. Conclusion number two, for my traders. be careful about going into a long trade right now when there might be a short-term corrective movement. Make sure your liquidation price is low enough. Make sure your stop loss, if you're using one, which you should, is low enough. You don't want to lose the farm. And the thing that I really want you to keep in mind is that Bitcoin could go through a 2, 3, 4, 5% drop over the next 7 to 14 days, building out a short-term inverse head and shoulders pattern with a price target of 112, 116 actually is the price target, and that'd be great. But you don't want to get stopped out on your long trade because you didn't anticipate the right shoulder of the inverse head and shoulders pattern being built. So those are my 2 conclusions. Number 1, if you're an investor, you're running out of time. Number 2, if you're a trader, there's an excellent long opportunity available, but don't be surprised if there's one more dip before we rally all the way up to 112. That's why for my traders, I would recommend, if you're going to go into a long trade, wait until this downtrend is broken. Wait until this downtrend breaches. After that downtrend breaks, go to town. Long the crap out of Bitcoin because we're probably going to 110 to 112 at least. You could almost certainly lock in some solid gains there. Until that point in time, though, be very careful. Wait for the right trade because there's a lot of great opportunities, but you want to make sure that you keep your risk to reward ratio in check. You want to make sure that you're going into great trades, not good trades, great trades, perfect trades only. There are really no perfect trades, but only great trades. And at the end of the day, just continue to acquire wisdom, continue to acquire Bitcoin, and continue to tell me what we can improve upon here at the Coffee and Crypto live stream and also here on the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel and everything else that we do. I really appreciate you for being here. If you've not already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. I would love to see your smiling face in our Coffee and Crypto live stream. We got a lot of new content coming over there. We're also talking about potentially launching a trading group. I'd love to hear your opinions on that. Would you join a trading group if we were to build it? It's something I'm kind of brainstorming. I want to get a Discord server online and some more community features so I can really go deep with you guys. I really think that we could all make a lot of money together. And so tell me in the comments section, is that something that you are interested in? If this is the first time you're seeing the new studio, what do you think? It's not done. I got some other lighting stuff I need to do. I need to get all my books in here and rearrange the furniture a little bit. Not the furniture, the decorations a little bit. But tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your opinions. I really appreciate you all for being here. I love you very much. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.